Hello, my name is Hina Shahid. I am the founder of Project Pluralist. I'm presenting this paper, Preventing Discrimination and Hate, a design-led approach to youth development, which I co-authored with Robert Fee from University of Texas at Dallas. What began as an MFA thesis became a social impact initiative, engaging youth from coast to coast. After the initial testing and evaluation of this design solution, which was part of my MFA thesis for design management a couple of years ago, I continued the project and continued iterating it and strengthening the solution. So the paper that I'm discussing today is a culmination of the insights that led to the design solution, the development of the design solution, and also the ongoing iterations since then. Social problems are traditionally left to policymakers and legislators, but design has an important role to play. Design has a power to move and engage people, combined with the power to simplify, reduce, and frame challenges down to their essence. The key differences that set design apart from traditional policy-focused research and other initiatives is one, deconstructing the problem from the human lens, framing alternative solutions and futures, and tangible and testable explorations, meaning building prototypes that could be taken into the field and tested in the field with actual end users. In this paper, design is being utilized in 3 different ways: design process, design skills, and design studio. While multiple models of the design innovation process exist for the purpose of this project, the design innovation model by Kumar was used. The nonlinear process puts emphasis on understanding the problem on both macro as well as micro levels. Additionally, the iterative approach to building solutions through prototyping and piloting was another consideration for choosing this model. The design skills of perspective taking, collaboration, solution making are not just necessary for crafting experiences and products, but are also essential for employing and teaching resilience traits. One of the most prolific examples of experiential and active learning, as well as project-based learning, is the design studio model. Design is generally not taught in theory. It is a highly practice-based discipline, as most of us know. Each specialization within design shares an inherent commonality, which is learning by doing. This learning model enables design students to learn by doing the actual project work, asking questions, reflecting on ideas, and interacting with each other. And that's why it made this learning the right approach for this initiative. This phase comprised of developing an understanding of the context. It's important to note that the research was focused on racial and religious extremism. So the far-right extremists and everything that comes under that umbrella, white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and the other category was Islamist extremists. The modes of research included collecting macro as well as micro data. The research began with 2 questions. Why do individuals join extremist organizations or subscribe to extremist ideologies, and who are these individuals? The core was to understand if there were any similarities between radicalization of any of these groups, if the path to radicalization or the reasons to radicalization were similar or same or were completely different. And so building an overall understanding of why do somebody, despite of whatever kind of extremism or extremist ideologies that they relate to, why do they do that in the first place? Since the purpose of this paper is to outline the design and development of the solution, the findings and insights are kept short. I could write a whole other paper just on the insights that were gained from the research and how the insights were framed. The macro and micro data that we found was affinitized into themes and categories the two key categories were extrinsic conditions and intrinsic motivations. In this case, intrinsic motivations are also termed as the hate vulnerable traits. These extrinsic conditions and intrinsic motivations were common factors among both the far right extremists as well as the Islamist extremists, while the intrinsic motivations were a combination of existing prejudice and biases in the individual's environment. The key similarities were also some of the traits among these individuals. Things like in-group superiority, conformity, heightened in-group empathy, perceived lack of agency or feeling as if they have lost power that they once had, a sense of exclusion and isolation, and a desire for purpose and retribution. The other aspect at this point was to look at the existing solutions. What solutions existed in the field? How were they engaging? Who were the end users? What did their programs look like? What mediums were they using? And so looking at the entire programs and organizations that existed, there were few core attributes that were identified, such as prevention versus intervention. They were either experiential or informational focus. Was it focused towards the general population, or was it focused specifically for youth? Their learning, was it passive or was it based on active learning? So this helped identifying the potential white space and just knowing where the solutions had not gone and where the opportunity for this initiative was. At this point, all of the understanding and insights converged to bring about the opportunity. And here I'd like to talk about the most important insight that really helped in crafting the opportunity. And that was that we could employ intervention programs, we could employ some sort of a filtering technology for our youth so it controls the content, or we control or try to filter what is seen and what is heard by youth, but that can only be done to some degree of success. The essential opportunity here is to enable the youth to reject hateful ideas when and if they are confronted by them, and to equip them with the tools that can help them make good decisions and overcome the ups and downs of life without succumbing to intolerance and hate. At this point, looking back at the landscape of existing solutions, and we had looked at these spectrums between prevention versus intervention, or active learning versus passive learning, and see where does the opportunity lie for this particular project. And so the opportunity was around prevention, having a program that was focused on delivering experiential learning that was active. It was focused on youth. And so these traits were taken, or these attributes were taken, and multiple ideas were generated in according to this. The majority were on the lines of building awareness about discrimination or hate, what the hateful ideas look like, what are those behaviors and actions, and what kind of new competencies could be built that could help in negating or reducing the hate vulnerable traits, the intrinsic traits that we talked about last time around exclusion and isolation and conformity, etc. So the final concept was Pluralist Workshop, which is based on a three-pronged approach. One, to enable the youth to identify and understand prejudice and hate as problematic behaviors, to cultivate resilience against prejudice and hateful ideologies and build new pluralist competencies. And the third component is to develop capacity for educators, making it approachable for them to implement and utilize in their respective classroom. This is a toolkit and a facilitation guide that addresses the complex issues of discrimination, intolerance, and hate through creative workshops in both schools as well as colleges. So the main audience for this workshop is anywhere from age 13 to 21, so middle school all the way till college students. The workshop builds resilience against prejudice, discrimination, and hate, as well as teaching the new competencies. And the new competencies, which I refer to them as the pluralist competencies, are fairness, collaboration, empathy, inclusion, and efficacy. And these embody pluralism. And the whole core point is for them to be able to appreciate diversity and thrive in harmony with various peoples and various cultures and various perspectives. Designed on the lines of experiential and project-based, as well as studio learning, this workshop uses design activities and skills to develop an understanding and to enable solution making. It has 6 parts that start from team building and ends with reflective exercises. At the beginning of the workshop and at the end, participants take this self-reported survey that is designed to measure the immediate effects of the workshop. And I like to call out that this is about the immediate effects of the workshop. The hope is to have a long-lasting effect, but we also know that 4 to 5 hours of engagement can only lead to so much impact. So we didn't want to lose the opportunity to not measuring that immediate effect. And so a little bit about the measurement, the tool that was designed. This is an adaptation of interpersonal reactivity index and self-efficacy scale. So interpersonal reactivity index, or IRI, measures empathy, while the self-efficacy scale measures adaptation in the face of adversity or difficulty, meaning how well would an individual do when they're faced by the ups and downs of life. The prototypes, the final workshop there were 4 rounds of testing with multiple iterations of the prototype. Feedback was collected from the participating students, educators, as well as parents. From the first iteration to the most recent one, over 90 students from middle school, high school, and college have participated in these workshops. Overall, the students responded well to critical and complex concepts. They were engaged and enthusiastically participated in all the activities. The pre- and post-workshop survey gave a little insight into the immediate impact, such as the relative increase in empathy and efficacy score. The participating youth saw prejudice and hate as a solvable problem. They felt they were active participants in the society and had a role to play, and were looking at how to create solutions and how to solve some of these problems around prejudice and discrimination in their classroom, in their school, in their college, in their community. Unlike traditional anti-hate program, the toolkit was able to reframe the problem of how to teach youth and changed it to how to involve them by inviting youth in solution making. Participation in solution design shifted the perspective from passive information seekers to engaged solution seekers and equipped the youth with confidence. This workshop has been welcomed and appreciated by the school administration and educators around the country. It has given way to development of multiple programs in class curriculums under the wider umbrella of Project Pluralist. So the efforts are underway for school-wide implementation and training of these workshops, as well as developing newer programs, along with increasing the sample size for impact measurement. Thanks so much for watching and listening to this presentation. If you have any feedback or would like to collaborate, please reach out to me. I would love to hear back from you. Thank you so much.